We wish you a merry meeple. We wish you a merry meeple. We wish you a merry meeple and a happy new cube.
A new cube? What do you mean by that?
Cube, like no cube zone.
Oh, so we wish
We've
you
got
not a
Jordan
cube.
here.
Yeah.
We've got Jordan Hopper here today. Go ahead and say hi,
Hey,
Jordan.
hey, I'm Jordan.
And you are
Well, Jordan,
from,
well,
obviously, the No Cube
oh,
Zone
go ahead.
podcast.
Obviously, the No Cube Zone podcast, the only podcast with legally distinct Twilight Zone theming art.
Perfect. Well, Jordan, we like to welcome to Meeple Overboard, the podcast about board games, gaming community, and our little slice of heaven that plays them.
As for me, my name is Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
And so, what we're doing, we are doing this as a video, but we're also
Mm-hmm.
recording this as our 200th audio. We're doing this our 200th episode of our podcast.
Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations, 200, big 200.
Yep.
At the
Numbers
end
that
of
are divisible by
2020.
2, 5, and 10.
Huzzah! So this is our 200th episode. This is the last episode that we're doing here at the end of December before our small hiatus as we are moving to Florida. So January is going to be we're going dark for January. We'll be not doing any episodes, but we'll be back in February, which will be actually in time for our 4th anniversary of the podcast. Actually,
Which is pretty exciting.
yep.
We're 4 and we're 200, like at the same time. It's amazing.
Yep. So what we're going to do today is we're doing the 1 in 100 list and everything. But first, let's get to know our special guest, Jordan. Jordan, you are the guest that we wanted on today for our last episode of 2020 as we kick it into the grave and wish it no returns ever. So, Jordan, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, hey, I am Jordan, and I am 1/3 of the No Cube Zone, a other board game podcast that you can find where finer podcasts are downloaded. I live in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, and I'm big fans of Meeple Overboard and what Chris and Wendy do with the show. I listen pretty much exclusively to podcasts, so I feel like I was friends with Chris and Wendy long before I ever talked to them. But actually, because of 2020 and its shenanigans, I've actually kind of become friends with Chris because we have started a few YouTube things together with some of the board boys. And we've been doing a series called But We Don't Know the Rules, where we get on Board Game Arena and play a game that we don't know the rules to.
Those are such fun videos, especially as we're just like clicking around, click and clack, and I'm like, ooh, I figured out something. I figured out how to take my first turn.
Now, those are really hard to find games that everyone hasn't played, right?
Yeah, and most of the time Cam has played them and is like dropping hints as he's like, oh, look at me doing this thing. It's like, stop it.
Well, yeah, when it's just Jordan and I, it's a little bit easier. We found some kind of really cool games that way. We played Hawaii, the game that Tom Vassell threw in the garbage. I think is that one has that claim to fame. We played Dragonheart, which ended up being a game I really like. I play that one kind of repeatedly, actually. So there's been a few good ones. And for every good Dragonheart, there's also like a Flaming Pyramids garbage dump.
Yeah. I feel like there's a section of Board Game Arena that was like someone's high school board game design final project was the teacher wanted them to code their game and put it on Board Game Arena, and that's what they did, and they're all there because there's a few of them that are just yeah.
No, the real
You're sure that no
terrible
real
one.
publisher would touch them?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the real terrible one was like that Hypnosia or something.
Hypnosia.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't play that again. Maybe to save my life, but not to save like someone else's life. You know what I mean? Not yeah.
What
Oh,
about mine?
man.
Would you save my life playing that terrible game?
So Jordan, tell us more about the No Cube Zone.
So we are a podcast kind of not too dissimilar from what you guys say about a podcast about board games and your little slice of heaven that plays them. In the No Cube Zone, our main focus is more the experiences around games and why a certain game is in our board game collection. We're not seeking to talk about the new hotness. Therefore, we're not seeking to get a bunch of downloads because the people are always clamoring for the hotness on the downloads and the things. But we have really enjoyed getting to on our show talk about games, why they're in our collections, and the experiences around them. Because I think that's really what we love about board games is the memories that you make with people, and the game is essentially just something that helps facilitate that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
and that's a good point. You know, like some of your most enduring, charming episodes are ones about games that like no one in the right mind who wants to make a quote unquote successful podcast with 10 billion listens and stuff is why are they going to talk about like Stockpile? That game is
Right.
The game is several years old, but hearing you guys talk about it made me really want to play it again. And it's so cool. I love it when there's a cool show you can listen to with nice hosts, pleasant, funny conversations and stuff, and they talk about a game and you say, you know what, I should either check this one out because I've meant to, but I forgot about it, or yeah, I played that once and it really deserves more plays than that. And so that's why, particularly for me, I love about your show.
And there's something just beautiful about having someone that really has an intimate relationship with a game instead of like us. We've played it a few times and we have to move on to the next one. So this is our initial thoughts.
Yeah. And I made an effort to, when one of the other guys would pick a game that I hadn't played, it's been difficult with 2020 being 2020, but I would like source a copy to like borrow from somebody and like pick it up on their doorstep with like rubber gloves and stuff and like, all right, I'll bring this back to you, thank you. But there were a couple where I hadn't played it and I was just like, I'm gonna try and throw a couple plays together so I can sound somewhat intelligent about it. But we always let someone pick, one of the three of us was picking a game, so someone would have, like Wendy said, that special relationship with the game, and it's like it's on their shelf for a reason.
It's really cool. And now let me ask you, right? Because you've talked about plenty of games on the show that have cubes in them. Obviously, the No Cube Zone is a little tongue in cheek, but like you do like a feature game each episode. The game feature. What is it
The
called?
Board Game Showcase.
The Board Game Showcase. That's my Conniff impression because Conniff is. My name's Conniff. I have a cooler voice than Chris. I'm just really cool. Conniff. So anyway, the Board Game Showcase. Have you showcased a game that features cubes, or is that like legitimately a rule, like cannot have cubes in the Board Game Showcase?
Well, I don't necessarily want to spoil something that's coming for season 2, but I believe at the time of the release of your podcast, we have a holiday episode of the No Cube Zone / GG Party Chat, which is the other show that Conniff does on basically on the off weeks from the No Cube Zone, where they talk about they play games on Xbox Game Pass. So it's Conniff and 2 other hosts. So we kind of did a big like community like holiday episode. There's gonna be a little something at the end of that on the No Cube Zone that will give a little teaser for some things that are coming in season 2 of the No Cube Zone. But kind of as a rule, we try to stay away from cubes. The name of the show, our tongue is planted firmly in our cheek, so it's it's really more of just a gag than anything. But yes, as kind of a rule for this first season, we did try and avoid games with cubes. I don't know that we were 100% successful. In fact, I know we weren't, because I'm pretty sure Seasons was
one of your favorites. Yes.
Yeah, obviously that's what that noise was. Seasons does have at least a few cubes in there as far as like tracking your something on there. I don't know. That was Conniff's pick,
Fail.
not mine.
Shame. Shame. Yeah,
Well,
I
I don't.
thought based on the name, your show was going to be like a bunch of like war games and Ameritrash type stuff. Like, oh, we want games that have theme, and then you guys talked about like Stockpile and Raiders of the North Sea and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Well, except you roll dice in all those thematic games, so they have cubes because there's
See,
dice.
there's a point where we talk about this. So we call dice are cubes with souls. So dice are allowed in the no cube zone because they have souls and personalities to them.
And real purpose.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, let's move on to our famous questions that I'm sure everyone has just been sitting on the edge of their seat going, when are they going to ask the questions? When are they going to ask the questions?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot at least. So thank you, Wendy.
Chris just chatting, so chatty. Okay, Jordan, are you ready for the questions?
I am ready.
Can you ask yourself the questions? Do you know
So
them well enough?
my first question is the one I'm struggling with the most, which is if I could describe myself as a flavor.
Oh, he's got it.
He's got
okay, you
it.
get a point.
So if I'm describing myself as a flavor, so I'm trying to think of something. So one of my most unique physical features is that I am 6 feet 9 inches tall.
That's a midget, right? You're really short.
Yeah, exactly. So I was trying to think of some sort of like saltwater taffy flavor. There's a place I've gotten. It's a cherry cola saltwater taffy. So I'm picking the taffy because of the stretchiness, because I'm a stretched out, elongated human being, and the cherry soda because I feel like I'm a little bubbly. 'Cause I'm an extrovert with so the carbonation, the little bubbly, and who doesn't like the little cherry flavor in there?
Nice. I think you get an extra point for the most unique answer we've gotten with a guest ever. What do you think,
I
Chris? Do you think he deserves that?
He is the only person who said his flavor was I'm 6'9". So yeah.
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Cherry soda, saltwater taffy
I dig it. I dig it. Now,
flavored.
now, do you know the second question that's our staple for all of our guests?
My ideal game night.
Bingo. He's good. He's good. You're taking
All right,
over
I
as
think
the
you
new
have
host
3
of the
points
show.
already.
3 points. I can't. I'm rocketing up the Meeple Overboard leaderboard. Patent pending, I'm sure.
For sure.
So my ideal game night, I'm struggling because I think again back to kind of what I was talking about, like the ideal game night for me isn't necessarily completely centered around what's on the table, but more like the people that I'm interacting with. I think of probably my ideal game night would be someone I don't get to game with often, which in 2020 is most people. But I have had the opportunity to the past couple years. We've another podcast here in Omaha has done a convention, and I've gotten to play games with Joe Pilkus and his girlfriend Ping. They live out in Washington D.C. area, like Eastern Pennsylvania, D.C., and they've come in, and they're just some of the most like genuinely fun people to be around. Like Joe's just like super like high energy and like positive about everything, and just has a lot of fun. We've played Zolkin. I mean, I also think about Mick and Starla of Our Family Plays Games here in Omaha. I mean, I think it was literally like a week before like everything started closing because of COVID. We went to a board game cafe here in Omaha. My wife and I went to Spielbound here in Omaha, and we played Keyflower with Mick and Starla, and it was so much fun. Mostly because again the people that I was with. So I'm not answering the question really, but my ideal game night would be with someone with people that I care about, like good friends. That's always a perfect game night in my mind, even if it wasn't like my favorite game hitting the table.
So your
I
answer
think
is
we accept it.
Yeah, I think your answer is my favorite game night is not 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like February 12th of 2020 and before is my favorite game night.
I think, Jordan, really, you were just trying to get another point for unique answers, and I don't think you quite get the extra point, but we will accept your answer.
You're the only person to
Doggone
include a date as part of your answer. What is your ideal game night? February 12th, please.
Your flavor is a height, and your
Yeah,
favorite game's
yeah.
a date.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is You guys wouldn't have episode 200 any other way.
No, oh, that's true. That's true.
No, I mean,
Everything should be based around numbers in this episode. We should even base our top 10 around numbers. What do you think?
I got an idea.
Scrap everything, start over.
I got an idea that I'm going to pretend to make up on the spot right now, even though we have a PowerPoint ready to go with everyone's answers. And I'm going to Nicolas Cage this. Roll out. All right. So here's my idea. Gone in 60
Gone
seconds.
in 60 seconds. I knew it. Oh my gosh.
So the brothers Murph, huge shout out to them. They recently, in the month of December, did a live gaming. I can't even call this a marathon. It was just like I don't know why they did this, but they played their entire collection of games.
Because 2020,
'Cause 2020,
obviously.
yeah.
Okay, continue.
But before that, they came up with this really cool idea they called it 1 in 100, which is you go through the Board Game Geek top 100 games listing and you pick your favorite game. And then you go to the next 100 and you pick your favorite game, then the next 100. So we went through the top 1,000 games on Board Game Geek's listing as of today. We're recording this early December, even though we're posting this later. But anyway, so if numbers change, deal with it. But this is so we picked one game out of each 100, per page on Board Game Geek, and so we're gonna go through them. So I don't know, any other cool things to add to that?
Yeah, I've seen a few other content creators do this, and it's so much fun, I think, to listen to these lists. And when Chris asked me if I wanted to be a part of this on Meeple Overwhere, I was like, heck yes I do, because I think it's just so much fun just to hear people bring up different games out of each set of 100, and kind of like that thing like what you talked about with us bringing up like older games, like someone bringing up a game and being like, oh yeah, that game, that's a good one, I haven't played that in a long time.
I do hope to
Well, and
accomplish
it's funny.
that here. Yeah.
It's funny because none of these games are related. They're only related by ranking, and therefore you get the whole gambit.
It's not like, oh, top 10 worker placement games. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to about 30 worker placement games now. No, this is going to be the whole spectrum.
A little bit of everything. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. All right, who's going to start?
Wendy, I have the PowerPoint set up so that you will start, I will go, and then we will end with Jordan on each of these. So our number ones, our first ones on this list, we're starting at Board Game Geek listed the highest rated, as in number 1 through 100.
Okay, highest rated game. So we are not doing the backwards thing.
No, yeah, we were
Okay.
starting. I figured this would be more interesting, right? Start with the games, like the top 100 most people talk about, and then we're going to start going into slightly more obscure or lesser talked about as we go down.
Okay, so my 1 to 100, I chose Dominion, and now given Dominion and one of its expansions, Dominion Intrigue, we're both in with that top 1 to 100. So I decided to pick those combined. And it's probably Chris's as well, I would just guess, as a stab in the dark. Is it yours?
It is also mine, yes, indeed.
Should we just do ours together?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So we can talk about it. So Dominion is the original not card drafting, deck building. There you go. That was weird. Brain moment. The original deck building game. Very original. And Chris and I have played it for many years. It's one of the first games that got us into this kind of gaming. And it's just got a very special place in our heart.
Yep, so I'm going to switch the PowerPoint. Boop. Oh, look, also it's mine. Because, yeah, this is a game that invented a genre. It's one that we keep coming back to because it has just the most diversity from one game to the next out of pretty much any game that I've ever played, and I just constantly love trying to solve its puzzle. And so we can talk on and on and on about it, so we won't. Instead, we're just gonna go ahead and, especially so we can give a little more time to these other games. You've heard us talk about Dominion. Jordan, let's go to your number 1 through 100.
My number 1 in the 1 through 100, I picked Concordia, which
That's a good one.
happens to be my favorite game right now. The super rich theme of trading goods in the Mediterranean. I all kidding aside, I think Concordia, what it does best is on your turn, your actions are simple. You're doing one of a handful of things, but the choices are always like, oh man, what do I do? How do I want to do this now? Do I want to wait and see if I can play my diplomat and copy this other person because they'll play that card and I can do this thing twice? That kind of, I love that. And I just think it's my fave.
Oh yeah, the hand management and the positive interaction. That game is great. That's a very good one.
This game to me is the much more interesting, like, originator of Century Spice Road. There's nothing wrong with Century Spice Road, but it has that same hand management system, and this is it in a more meaningful way to me.
Mm-hmm.
And a much meatier game.
Yeah, that helps.
Meatier, not meatier, but yeah, meatier game. Okay, so let's do my 101 to 200. And I chose Sushi Go Party, which I think is currently our daughter's most favorite game at the moment. We bought this game. So we had Sushi Go. We bought Sushi Go Party, and we didn't play it. Like, we didn't unwrap it because we bought it right before 2020, all this hit. And we just never played it with a group in playing it 2-player. There's like one scenario and it's not that great. So we finally pulled it out with our daughter a couple months ago, and it has just been wonderful. So I've loved Sushi Go. It's always been one of those games that I'm willing to play anytime because it's quick, it's easy, it's fun, and Sushi Go Party just spices it up the same way that Dominion spices things up with a new lineup, a new set of cards every time, and a new puzzle to figure out. But yeah, super easy, fun drafting game.
Cool. And I wouldn't say the 2-player version is like the recommended set is not good. It's just that we would rather play other games at 2-player. That's the only.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
All right. My pick for 101 to 200 is Hansa Teutonica. Now, much as Jordan's Concordia is the, this is that pick. What's the theme? Germany. It's got the cover that looks like Owen Wilson's like great grandfather, like sitting there with his like pen and quill and keys and stuff. And worst of all, Jordan, it has just dozens and dozens of cubes in it. But I adore this game. Literally.
Sends a shiver down my spine.
Literally, the only components in this game is a central board, up to 5 player boards, and a bunch of cubes. And some wooden discs. And like that's it. And yet it makes one of the most interactive and thoughtful Euro games that I've ever played. And I absolutely adore it. Turns are lightning fast. And no matter how many times I've played this, because it's all about the interaction between the players, it is, even with its very limited set of resources and everything, it doesn't feel the same. It has one of the most player-driven variability from game to game that I've experienced. So that's my number 2 pick, or the 101 to 200 is Hansa Teutonica.
Now, does that game go to 5 or 6?
5.
5. It's one of those few games that I actually like playing at 5.
Yeah, 3, 4, and 5 are fantastic. 2-player variants.
Mm-hmm. Not so much. But yeah, there's just not a lot of 5-player games that I'm like that eager to play at 5. But that one's a really good one.
Yeah, 5's a hard player count. While you were talking, I don't know why, but the episode of Parks and Rec where he's playing Cones of Dunshire against the fake Google guy, and he's like and he ends up winning the game. He's like, forgot about the essence of the game. It's about the cones. Sorry,
You forgot about the
Complete
essence of the
tangent.
game. It's about Germany.
Or cubes. One or the other.
Or cubes. One of the two. Cubes in Germany. Speaking of cubes, my 101 through 200 game is also chock full of them, and that's Age of Steam. Have either of you played Age of Steam?
I have not.
Have not, no.
So I think again, it's a fantastic game. Kind of like it's one of those games that you would like start playing if you wanted to head down towards the 18xx. It's not quite there, but you're getting there. So you're playing, essentially you're running a train company, building out routes, delivering cubes. There is a loan mechanism, so you're trying to kind of like stay ahead of that, being able to pay all of your goods and basically stay alive. I think it's a great game, and there's like almost infinite number of like variables and like maps out there that they're like fan made maps. I've heard it said that there's a convention somewhere that all the people do is sit together and play Age of Steam. It's just different Age of Steam. Like there's a Age of Steam map that's like you're building trains on the moon for some reason.
Obviously.
But yeah, there's just a bunch of different stuff. It's super variable. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorite games, full stop, but definitely my favorite in this range of 101 to 200.
Very cool.
I'm just dying to know how they keep the trains on the tracks without them like bouncing off and floating away.
Whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
Steam powered and wizards. Yep. Those go together. All right. What are we on to? 201 to 300?
Yep.
That's our category. All right. This one was probably the hardest category for me to decide, actually. I had like 5 games I had narrowed it down to, and I just had to pick one. I really liked them all. So I chose Ethnos. Ethnos is I don't know, what kind of card game would you call it? It's an area control game that uses cards, and you're collecting cards, and as you lay down a set of cards, like let's say you lay down 4 Minotaurs, you have to discard the rest of your hand into a lineup, and people can then take those cards as they try to create sets of matching colors or matching mystical monsters of some sort. So it's a really fun area control game. And just like Hansa Teutonica, it is a great large player count game. And I'm not a very big party game person, but I feel like this is the party game for the Euro person. And so I really enjoy this game. It goes up to 7 if I'm not incorrect.
6.
6? Okay. Yep. Almost 7. It goes up to 6. And yeah, it's a great game. It moves quickly. It's a lot of fun. There's not a lot of like waiting in between turns, so you get around to everybody pretty quickly. And yeah, it's just great. Though the art is terrible, and I wish that it could be redone.
I'm fine with the art. I'm fine with it. I like it. It looks like 80s Lord of the Rings, right? I just wish there were an expansion.
Oh my gosh, that game needs an expansion. Like it would.
It's built
for it. It would take
for
that game. It is. It really is.
It should be like Dominion and have like 15 different expansions. Yeah.
Yeah, Ethnos, the Dark World. Ethnos, Ethnos, the Eastern Continent. Ethnos, trains on the moon. Everything Ethnos.
All of it.
Ethnos, little girl, fairy, unicorn, princess things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But we're basically describing Smash Up, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Ethnos should be the Smash Up of like slightly more serious Euro card games.
The Smash Up for real Euro players.
This is not snooty at all. All right, before we get any snootier, let's go to my pick, 201 to 300, and that is King Domino.
Super snooty.
As much as I want to put Ethnos on this list, and it's one of those, it could depend on the day, I think, but I adore King Domino. This is one of my favorite games. It plays incredibly well for 2 players. I think I figured out my favorite way to play King Domino is the 2-player version, where each of you control 2 pieces, because you grab dominoes, you add them to your kingdom, but the order that you grab the dominoes in matters so much, especially when you have each 2 meeples, 2 pawns that you're moving around. And Queen Domino, not as good as 2-player King Domino. The expansions that we've played and everything, the roll and write, those are all good. There's not a bad King Domino thing out there, but head-to-head 2-player, the 7x7 grid, that's my favorite. It's one of the best games I think ever made, and one of the simplest. So that's my pick for 201 to 300.
That is a good one, and we'd play it more if your brother didn't own it. Like he has our copy and has had it for like 2 years.
Don't we have it back now?
Oh, do we have it back now?
I know what we're doing tonight, Pinky.
2020.
All right, Jordan.
All right. So for 201 to 300, my pick is Navigator. So Navigator is, I'm actually realizing that I picked 2 Mac Gertz games, Concordia all being the other one.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
Navigator is a game where you're building out from Europe, trying to work your way around to Asia, coming down around Africa. Again, not too dissimilar from Concordia. Concordia is basically, he took a rondel and put it into your hand of cards. But Navigator is, there's the rondel on the board where you're moving your little pawn around the circle to take different actions. You can go, I believe, 3 steps on the wheel. So you basically have 3 choices of what your action is going to be for this turn, but that also sets you up for like your next however many turns. There's just this ripple effect in that. And again, it's simple choices that you're making, but with like big consequences for how the rest of the game will play out for you. And I love the puzzle of that, and it how the puzzle unfolds differently in each game that you play.
Very good. Now, for people that aren't aware, Navigator is Italian for dry Euro game, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to say that more snooty, like, yes,
they're-
of course.
Of course.
Dry
There
Euro
are
game.
2 men in floppy hats on the cover.
That there are.
Oh.
One is floppy, and the other is a bit of a Robin Hood-ish hat. So
Double the boredom. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere, I mean, I think my co-hosts of the No Cube Zone are just, I don't know, there's a chill running down their spines, or their ears are ringing, or they're waking up in a cold sweat or something, because I'm talking about all these boring, themeless, cube-filled games.
No shame. No shame there. Okay, so on to 301 to 400. Pretty exciting. This one was an easy one. Instantly, when I saw the game on the list, I was like, that's my game. And my game is Gizmos. Phil Walker Harding game. Super love this game, probably because I win it most of the time, but it's an engine building game. And you're building your engine. These are all these little machines. And you reach 16 machines or 16 cards, 16 gizmos, I guess would be the technical term. And you just count up points and see who wins. But they've got nifty little marbles, which are fun. Yeah, I adore the game, and I almost always win it. And that might be why I love it so much.
my 301 to 400 is also Gizmos. It literally is. It's one of the best games. It's one of the best engine building games. It is everything that's fun about Splendor, but so much faster of a growth curve to it. It's a lot of things that are fun about people's favorite engine building games, but I feel like where you start versus where you end is just such a bigger gap compared to every other engine builder. So I love it. It's fantastic, and yet it never loses control of itself, and it feels fantastic. It's out in a game that you say, shucks, my engine was just getting big enough, and the game ends. Like, your engine gets huge. So yeah, that's why it's my pick. Easily Gizmos.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Now that's Gizmos by Hall of Fame designer Phil Walker Harding, correct?
By Beeple
You gotta say
Overboard
it.
Hall
Gotta
of
say it
Fame
better.
designer. You got
Hall of Fame. Got to put the hands up,
Hall of
for
Fame.
those who are
Sorry.
listening via podcast.
Right. Wendy was doing some excellent hand movements to lift up the Hall of Fame there.
I guess that's true. Every time we say Hall of Fame designer, I pick up my hands like that. Make
You
it like
always put your hands up.
I do. And yet
And we like never have it on video. Yep.
there you go. Hall of Fame designer Phil Walker Harding. Okay. All right, let's go to yours, Jordan. 301 to 400.
Does he get like
So-
2 cents every time we say his name? Because we should just keep saying it.
We should
Phil will be rich.
we should get a box, like a shoe box, and call it the Meeple Overboard Hall of Fame, and just put 2 pennies in there every time we talk about Phil's games. And then we'll mail him a box of pennies one day, and he'll be so angry at us.
What did you do?
Or maybe by the time we're 100, we'll have plane tickets to Australia to go visit him.
Drop off his box of pennies in person.
Yeah.
Here, have some antiquated currency.
That's true. Bitcoin will be all there is, right?
All right, Jordan, save us from this conversation thread, please.
All right. So moving on, I went with Stockpile as my game for this section of 100. We mentioned it. Chris mentioned it earlier as one of the games that we've talked about on the No Cube Zone. I love this game. I absolutely adore this game. I think it's so much fun to kind of you're playing the stock market. There's the tongue-in-cheek theme of the insider trading, like so each person on their turn gets to know what one company is going to do. The expansions take a great game and make it greater, to use my good English.
Yep.
The first expansion adds these dice that make it variable on what the market does as far as companies going up and down. And the most recent expansion adds basically everyone starts with a hand of cards that in the action phase, if only if one of the action cards became available previously, everyone basically has an action card that, like a hand of action cards that they can choose from. So you can use those cards more strategically to kind of plan out, okay, I'm going to sell some shares, and then in the action phase, oh, look at that, I can get a share out of the trash pile for free. Oh, look, I'm going to take this one I just sold for a bunch of money and basically put it right back in my portfolio. I think it's a light, fun game. Like you can play with like families and stuff, but there's so much. I feel like there's enough meat on the bone for a seasoned gamer as well. And that's why I picked Stockpile.
That's
Very awesome. I've never played that game, so I do not have anything to say about it.
I wish they finally I wish they get like a Board Game Arena implementation or something on it. Because
That'd be amazing.
I would love to play
Then we
this
play
with
it.
you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. All right, my 401 to 500. So the 400s. Once again, another hard list to pick from, but I settled on Airlines Europe. And those who are fans of our show and have often heard our opinions on this game, we played a lot with Chris's stepdad. He loves aviation, but this game also has an amazing, just a stock mechanism where everyone's investing in different stock companies, but you're investing in each other's companies, or like nobody owns the companies. And just basically the person who has the most stocks in the highest funded companies wins. And it's so good. And it has such a unique approach to stocks that I really love.
And it's so simple. I mean, it's basically Ticket to Ride leveled with like 2 steps up. It's so good. So
Very
yeah,
good.
my number 5 was almost Airlines Europe, but if not for the fact that this other purple boxed game exists, and that is Broom Service.
The worst.
I to this day love Broom Service so much, so very much. You know what's funny is last year at the end of 2019, I sold it out of our collection actually because I made a commitment that we only keep so much shelf space. So why would I keep a game on our shelf, our limited shelf space that Wendy hates so much? And Wendy's allowed to hate it; it's okay. But I adore it. And so my commitment was if I can in genuine play the game 3 times in a year, I will keep it because that means I'm getting enough play out of that shelf space. And 2019 I did it. I played it twice. I could have really pushed it for a 3rd time, but I thought it's okay to let it go. And I'm glad to have had the shelf space for 2020.
It would not have gotten played, that's for sure.
And then I would have been resentful to you. Like, Wendy, I need to play this 3 times. Please. So no.
It'd be like the worst.
So Broom Service.
Now we don't have to bring it to Florida too, so great.
Yeah, it's true. So Broom Service as a card game is amazing, right? It's that guessing what other players chose to put into their hands and trying to read the situation. It's everything that is good, I think, about games like poker and like that semi-bluffing type of stuff to it, but it's everything that's fun about standing up and shouting at your neighbor, and yet also just a nice, clean delivery, pickup-ish and delivery type game. So that's my 401 to 500 Broom Service.
Very nice. I've not played either of those games.
Oh, we should fix that.
Well,
we should.
yeah. Too bad
funny
Nebraska's not on our way to Florida.
There's a detour. I've pointed this out to Chris several times.
Hey, I flew in a plane from Detroit to Las Vegas because I was flying back from Florida, getting a condo and stuff set up, and I thought my layover was in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. It was DTW, which is Detroit. So that was an unpleasant little side jaunt. But I flew directly over Omaha, and the people in the plane did not appreciate me standing up and yelling, "Hi, Jordan!"
Yeah, I'm sure the mother of the 2-month-old baby in the row behind you was super thrilled that you did that.
Who's driving with the 2-month, or who's flying with the 2-month-old in COVID right now?
I don't know.
No, it happens.
That's true. I was mostly just
Killing
hiding.
the joke.
I was mostly just hiding on the airplane, be like, "Oh my gosh, I
Please
just
don't
don't want to be
breathe on
around
me."
people." Yeah. All right, Joe, let's hear
So
your
special.
401 to 500.
All right, so 401 to 500, I went with Lords of Vegas. This game for me is 100% about the experiences of playing it. A lot of the time that I've played this game, so in Lords of Vegas, you are building out the Las Vegas Strip in the 50s-ish time frame.
Las Vegas, never heard of it.
Yeah, some forgettable city.
Some podunk
Distant
town, yeah.
land.
Yeah. Anyways, so you're building out the Las Vegas Strip. It's a very, very luck-based game. 100%. Like, you kind of have to go into it expecting that. So basically you're trying to wrestle control of different casinos that get built up along the strip from each other. So everyone places a die into these little squares in the casino, and on your turn you can then force a reroll of all the dice in the casino, and then whoever has the highest pip value at the end of that gets control of the casino. If you have more dice in the casino, obviously you get more chances to be the boss of the casino. But this game facilitates rolls of where on someone's turn, person A has 4 dice in the casino, person B has 3 dice in the casino, and person C has 1 die, and they didn't even pay for this casino to get re-rolled because you have to pay a certain amount of money to get control of this casino. And everyone rolls, and it's a bunch of 2s and 3s, and the person with 1 die rolls a 5, and they take control of the casino, and everyone at the table goes, "Ah!"
I would hate it.
Yeah, we've not played this one. We played the Ravensburger Las Vegas, but this is one that I want to play knowing what I'm getting into.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yeah, if you know what you're getting into, it's so much fun. My favorite memory of this game is back in the before times when you could go to conventions and things. I played a 3-player game with 2 of my friends at a convention, and I think we were this close to getting asked to be quiet because there were so many just stand up and yell moments in the game.
Oh man.
Because it's whoever, there are these cards in there that'll say the strip, the Las Vegas Strip will pay out, and if you're controlling the casino, you get a bunch of money and points for having control of that casino. And it's so if the person who's in the lead loses control of the casino, it benefits everyone on the table because they're not continuing to rack up their lead on everybody else. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I couldn't not pick Lords of Vegas.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, on to 501 to 600. And I chose Elder Sign, which is funny because I've never played this game physically. I've only played the app. But I love Elder Sign. So it's basically a dice game, and you're trying to get enough Elder Signs to shut down whatever evil god is popping out, Cthulhu style. And you're just going around to different parts of the museum and handling different weird stuff. And it is so much fun. I enjoy cooperative dice games. And this is definitely one of those that I really enjoy.
Elder Sign's so good. Such a good couch co-op game.
Mm-hmm.
My number 501 through 600 is Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done. This is a very orange game. One of the orangest that I know of. But it's amazing. It is so Seth Jaffe, the designer of it, basically heard about Stefan Feld's Trajan. He heard this idea about a rondel Euro game, and he said, a rondel Mancala style Euro game, and he said, I have an idea of what that looks like. And then he played Trajan, and he said, this is nothing like I imagined. I'm going to make that game that I thought of. And so,
Nice.
Yeah, I've yet to play Trajan, but I love Crusaders. There's basically just 6 actions in the game, and you move your little wood pieces onto, you grab the whole stack of them and you move them in the little circle, and whatever place you drop it onto, you activate it. And if you have managed to build up a lot of your pieces on that space when you land on it, you activate it for a higher level action. It's so good. It's so smooth. It has this really good production to it. You move your soldiers and stuff around this map. Somebody once described it to me as kind of like Scythe, and I have no idea what that person's talking about, because what this game shares with Scythe is that it has a map with hexes on it.
That's very unique. Very unique.
Yeah.
I that's fair. That's a good point, Wendy.
Yeah. I mean, totally. So I have a very special place in my heart for Mancala. I grew up calling it the muffin tin game because my mom would get hazelnuts and put them in muffin tins, and we'd play Mancala. I don't know. But yeah, Mancala is a really cool little mechanism that you can throw in things, and it's a fun little switch up.
I have a very fond memory of Mancala as well, because it came with my Encyclopedia Britannica 1996 bonus CD that had a few board games from around the world on it.
Oh, wow.
So I would put that into my CD-ROM on my Windows 95 computer, and I would play Mancala, because the other game on it was Go, which was extremely confusing to just a kid who's like, what is happening? So I loved Mancala on that thing. Sorry, that's my 501 to 600.
Very nice.
We could do but we don't know the rules for Go, because I don't know the rules to Go. It would just be me clicking.
At the end of it, it'd be like, here's your score.
And you'd win. Watch, you just win.
What I do?
I'll put a piece here. See what happens.
So for 501 to 600, I picked Panamax. Isn't that the song that the band Panamax?
Dun, 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 Panamax. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm glad you know the song too. So Panamax is a game about shipping things through the Panama Canal. There's a super super interesting thing with the lock system throughout the Panama Canal, to where if I want to move my ship forward, I have to then move all of the other ships that are in front of it in the locks forward. So I push everything in front of me along. So you are helping / hurting other people by moving their stuff around different directions down the canal as you're trying to move things through. It's kind of has the 18xx thing where you're trying to get money into your personal cash as opposed from your company's cash. So there's stocks that pay dividends. So you're just trying to get money into your personal thing. There are military ships that don't carry any cargo, but as you complete contracts for those countries, then you gain the ability to get like a kickback from that municipality when you move their ships through the canal. So like if I've taken some EU flags and then I move the EU ship through the canal, like I get a couple of bucks into my personal supply for moving their boat along without them having to do anything.
Municipality is a $10 word, my friend. That was
It's the one that came to my mind. I don't even think it's necessarily the best fit for what I'm trying to describe, but it's the one that I chose.
it should be used in more music, more songs, you know.
So yeah, Panamax, it's a heavier game. If you don't consider dice as cubes, it doesn't have cubes.
Oh, there
But
goes
yeah.
gravity. Yeah, back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Municipality. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. We got it.
There you
We
go.
got
I
it.
think that game should be rethemed as bumper boats.
Bumper boats.
Yep.
Like it.
Another game that I think so it plays 1 to 4 or 2 to 4. I think yeah. It's a game that I think deserves like a 5th player expansion and you could do a few other things with it, but I don't think that expansion will ever see the light of day.
So your 501 through 600 was the bumper boats of municipality.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. Perfect. I like it.
So Panamax.
Okay, 601 to 700, and this is Oh My Goods for me. Oh My Goods, super fun little card game, multi-use cards. They do everything. They're your little workstations that are working. They're you move around, you have like one worker and he works he works a card. They're also the resources, and they also determine how many things come out each round that you can kind of pull from. And they do everything. It's a super fun, super simple, but just a really good game. There's a lot of chaining and engine building that goes on with it.
This is about the point of the list, Jordan, where I'm very grateful that you decided to join us because my number 7 is also Oh My Goods. And it's
Oh my.
it's not a surprise that some of Wendy and I's favorite games within a chunk of them, like within a prefabricated list, is going to be pretty similar to each other. But everything she said. Oh My Goods is very clean, very neat little push your luck, like part push your luck, part worker placement D, part engine building, part chaining, part resource management, hand management. It's somehow all of these parts that make a great whole. So yeah, that's my.
And it's a super small box. Yeah, the deck of cards is just a deck of cards. Like it's amazing.
Yep.
My honorable mention would have been Pret a Porter. So
Pret-a-Porter's
I'll
also
just throw
very
that
good,
out there, because we need more variety.
I mean, Pret Porter, always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
yeah. Jordan, your
right.
601 through 700.
601 through 700, I went with City of the Big Shoulders, or as we refer to it in our local game group, because of someone struggling to say the name, we call it City of the Big Shoulder Pads.
Nice.
Very nice. That is the first game on your list that I've actually played.
Wow.
So,
No. Concordia.
impressive.
Concordia.
Oh, you're right. Okay. I take it all back.
City of the Big Shoulder Pads, which is the 80s re-theme of City of the Big Shoulders.
It's 1980 in Chicago. That was me, for the audio people, that was me smoking a big fat cigar in the 80s. Sorry.
Yes.
Your hair's not big enough anymore for that, Chris.
It's too bad.
What a shame. So, City of the Big Shoulders is set in the 1800s in Chicago with, I believe they're all real companies that were in Chicago at the time. So, essentially, you're operating companies, trying to drive up the stock price, buying shares of companies and other people's stocks, and then choosing just the right time to dump their stock and tank their stock price to make them go, why? I think it's a super. I like the economic aspect of it. The worker placement makes it feel like a game that I'm like, oh yeah, this feels like an old friend of a game. Worker placement, I know this, but there's, like I said, there's that stock manipulation aspect of it, and you can kind of mess with people of like, oh, I see you've got a nice shoe company over there. It'd be a shame if someone else were to start a shoe company right now, since I am ahead of you in the priority, whatever that thing is that I'm forgetting the name of right off the top of my head. And so they would get to sell their goods to the for the higher price at the end of the round, since they have the priority dealy. You know, come on, I'm just asking for some dealies.
I don't know what you call it.
I think it's
Yeah.
reputation track or popularity
Yeah.
track.
Something like that.
Some sort of buzzword about I'm first and you're not track is what it is.
That's
So
what
if
it's called. That's the
if I'm-
official calling. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm ahead of you on that particular track, then I can sell my goods at a higher price, even though maybe you had your shoe company built first. I came along, started another shoe company, got my way up that little I'm first and you're not track, and then I get to sell my stuff and get more money, and you don't. So hard cheese.
It's a good one. I've been playing this one on Board Game Arena recently with my game group, and it's nicer to play it without having to set it up.
Yes.
I
and
imagine.
to not have to handle all the money, because there's a lot of money.
We use mini poker chips when we play, which helps. But yeah, a lot of money, a lot of stuff. It's a sprawler.
For sure.
All right, on to what are we on? 701 to 800.
Yup.
Okay, so I chose CO2 Second Chance. And I originally saw CO2 on there, the 2012 version, and I was like, oh no, Chris. Like, oh no, that's the one I would pick is if it the co-op version. And he was like, oh, it's okay, it's on there. You just missed it.
It was like
So,
30 entries higher. Yeah, in the middle of
Yeah.
the 700s.
I love this game. I love it so much. Like it's one of those that I kind of can't believe how much I love it. It is heavy Euro, but it's cooperative. And so it's everything I love about thinking 7 turns ahead and calculating really intensely. But then I don't have to have someone else come in and mess things up for me, which is what is really annoying in a competitive game. Instead, it's Chris and me working together and calculating 7 steps ahead and then surviving and like winning and feeling awesome about ourselves that we could think that far ahead. And so I really like it. It is the Eurogamers cooperative game. Is that snooty enough for you?
Pretty snooty, yeah. We need to try Spirit Island.
You did stick your pinky out there, right?
Yeah, oh, I did.
Yes. Yeah. I've had people say, since we like this one so much, we really need to try Spirit Island sometime. Another like heavy Euro-y gamer type co-op game. So
Yeah, it's on the list.
it's on the list. All right, so my 701 through 800 is Gold West. This is Gold West is so good. It's so clean. J. Alex Cavern is a very, very smart designer, and he does a lot with very little that you do on your turn. And this is the only game I can think of that has a sluice box mechanism. You know, where you
What?
where you when you get a bunch of resources, you load them into your sluice box, and then it'll eventually kind of Mancala down the line. And it's kind of like when you fish out water nuggets from the water. The game's about gold. I don't know if you know that. Did I say water nuggets? Gold nuggets in water?
The water nuggets.
The water nuggets. Yeah.
There's water in them there hills.
I hope those nuggets are not from the bathroom.
Mad Max 2020. There's water in them there hills. All right. So anyway, yeah, Gold West is a brilliant game.
You know, Chris, I couldn't have said that better myself, so I won't, because Gold West is also my pick for this section of 100 games.
Because of the water nuggets. Yeah, couldn't say
No,
it better.
the water nuggets is really what put it over the top for me. Yeah, somewhere Ben Coberly is smiling that this has been picked by 2 of us. He's a friend of that we've met also from another local convention here, his number one game of all time is Gold West.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I'm making a joke about someone neither of you know.
That Ben Coverly.
Yep. So yeah, Gold West. Like I said, I think Chris was right. I love the little bonus tiles that are variable down in like the boom town, I think is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
How that is variable every time, and so it gives you different goals and things for you to try and chase after throughout the game. Do you just want to go straight like I'm gonna move my little wagon up the little wagon train deal and sell a bunch of gold and silver and copper or bronze or whatever the other mineral is? I don't know. Yeah, I think Gold West is fantastic. The Mancala thing is chef's kiss good.
Also, just a small thing on the production, like it's super cool that each of the metals is like a different type of like cylinder shape, and depending on how valuable it is, it's either a pentagon, hexagon, or septagon, which I think is so smart. Like, anyway.
Yeah, that's one of those attention to detail things where you're just like, man, someone else is a nerd and I love it.
Now, have you played the Roll and Write Rolled West?
I have not. I've wanted to because of my affection for the board game version. Yeah, the Water Nuggets.
Water Nuggets, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
good.
It's really good. Some people don't like it because it doesn't evoke enough of Gold West, is what I've heard some people say, but I think that's hogwash. I think if you know it's going to be like a 20-minute roll and write game, and it does a lot of the things that I like from this game, but it's obviously going to be like just a quick check off boxes type roll and write game, but it's super good.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. We highly recommend that.
All right. Well, it's on the watch list now officially.
Perfect.
Made it on the list. Okay, 801 to 900. I chose World's Fair 1893. Did you choose that too, Chris?
How dare you? Yes.
Okay.
But still, how dare you?
It was between that and Unlock Squeak and Sausage, and I just didn't quite think that was going to make it up higher for me.
For me, it was between this and the Risk Star Wars edition, and I wanted so badly to pick Risk Star Wars just to be able to talk about that game because it's so good. But in earnest, World's Fair 1893 is one of my favorite games.
It's such a good game, and we actually sold it off a couple years ago because we've just played it that many times that we were just like, you know what? I think we have played it enough for now, and it's such a good game. Such a good game.
Yeah, I do worry about it just being out of print at some point in the future. We're like, let's pick that up again. To be fair, we've never picked up a game again that we've sold off, but it's a game that I will seek out at a convention to play, especially for someone who's like, oh, I've never played that one. Oh, I think people should try this. I actually like this one more than I like Gold West. And as smooth and easy as every turn on Gold West is, you just do like 3 things that are very easy. Do one simple thing, another simple thing, another simple thing in Gold West. In World's Fair, you do like one simple thing, and that's your whole turn. And yet...
You place out a cube.
Yeah, exactly. You place out a cube, and if you have a special ability card from the last round, you play it and discard it. But it's brilliant. So, Jordan, have you played this one?
I have not.
Shame!
Can I put it on the list?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Please put
Okay,
it on
it's
the
on the list with Rolled West.
So, Tim Matevier, who is the what would you call him?
He's the proprietor,
the person who's in charge of of Dice Tower West. The man in charge of Dice Tower West, the man in charge of our local awesome board game cafe. I think this was the first game he ever taught me. It was either this or Istanbul. I'm not sure which one was first. I remember there were 2 very early game nights, and they were different ones, or game days or whatever. It was one of those 2. But I very distinctly remember him teaching us, and then we bought it that same day. Also, the pieces fit in pill bottles, and so that is really convenient. And for some reason, we had a couple pill bottles, and that's how we organized the game.
Da, 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 that's us.
was gonna say if he did teach it to you before Istanbul, you should codename this game Constantinople.
That's a thinker.
That's true.
That's a good one.
It
my
might have
friend.
been after though, so yeah, I don't know.
I still call it Constantinople.
That song is
of-
always in my head when we play Pandemic or any
because
version
the
of.
song.
This is the second game on our list that takes place in Chicago, thanks to City of the Big Shoulders.
Yeah.
Navigator now takes place in Chicago.
Yep. Yep.
It's-
Concordia. Conchagia.
Do they make sushi in Chicago? Can we have a Sushi Go Party there?
No, the whole city of Chicago outlawed sushi back in '93, back in 1893, actually. So
Terrible. Terrible.
That's actually one of the event cards in City of the Big Shoulder pads. Is when it got outlawed. They outlawed sushi.
The outline of sushi.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So
All right,
my
Jordan, what's
game-
yours?
My game for this particular stretch of games is the Container 10th Anniversary Jumbo Edition.
I made sure to include the correct picture for you.
Thank you.
I almost did the regular container, but I thought no. He wants the one where the pieces are about the size of an Optimus Prime Transformer toy.
Yeah, yeah. The one where you are like you're moving the Autobots and the Decepticons around to move your containers of things.
Through the Panama
To an-
Canal so you can get to Chicago. Yes.
Exactly. You get it. You get it. I don't have to explain any further. So, I will anyways. I mean, I know you get it. So in Container, you are. It's kind of like manufacturing goods. The game. So you have factories that you produce goods at. And then someone has to buy those goods from your factory and they put them in their warehouse. And then someone else has to buy goods from the warehouse to put onto their boat. And then the boat moves out to this, in the game, it's a seemingly deserted island. I don't know why all the containers of goods are going to a completely like desolate island. Like there's no buildings or structures or anything on this island.
It's the camera
that's
crew
where
for
they all go.
Lost. That's what you're shipping out is all the like camera and the film and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so in the game, everyone will start with a card that gives you a breakdown of what containers are worth to you when they're on the island. That's going to be like the main like end game scoring thing is containers that you've secured on the island, and once a boat pulls up to the island, there's an auction and you auction off the containers on that particular boat. The only catch is that whatever container that you have the most of, that gets zeroed out. So if the purple containers are the ones that you get 10 points for every purple container you have, but if the thing you have the most of is purple containers on the island, no purple containers for you.
They just don't need purple containers on that abandoned island.
Yeah. But then, so if the three of us were playing, I might have purple containers, Wendy would have orange containers, and Chris would have beige containers as his like 10-point thing. And there's like a scale of all 5 of the different colors of containers.
All right, I have a title for this game. You ready for this? It is Oh My Goods, a bumper boats game.
Chicago, 1894.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. I've played Import Export, which I've heard is a mix kind of Glory to Rome and Container, and so it has
Yes.
some of the weird like shipping. You put stuff out on the boat, but it could benefit other people, but you need them to get the things so that you can get this card to do that thing. And I'd be keen to trying this game once, I suppose. I've never really looked into it, but I hear it's not what one would call a light, easy game, right?
No. So when you stop in Omaha on your way to Florida, we can play it.
With our 5-year-olds.
I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. that would love to play with your 5-year-old while we played Container and or any of these other games.
So we'll play Container Jumbo Edition. They'll play Container Small Original Edition.
Exactly.
Okay, I get
Just
your point.
containers.
Yeah, just Container.
Just empty containers. Perfect.
Well, we're
All right,
entering
we
our
on to our
final
last.
ones.
Oh, yeah, our
Yeah.
last ones. Okay, 901 to 1000. And my game is Medieval Academy. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. My game is Medieval Academy, which does not. Ooh, it could be Medieval Academy of the Big Shoulder Pads, and then we could play that song.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game is a card drafting game, and it's not really a worker movement, but you've got these little tracks that you're moving your workers on, and it's a whoever is farthest along / highest on top, like little. How do you explain that? Felding. New felded somebody. What is the actual term for it? Yeah, if your disc gets there last, it's on top of someone else's disc, and then it is first place. It's one of those games, lots of tracks, lots of trying to get ahead on things and balancing all of that to get a lot of points.
If you like tracks, this is your game. And I like tracks, so this is my pick for 901 through 1000 as well. This is like the perfect card drafting game that's a middle level between Sushi Go and Seven Wonders. Medieval Academy is kind of right in the middle. And what I like about this, a few things that this game does with card drafting that I think is extremely unique, is that every player's dealt 6 cards. You pick a card, and then you give the 5, to the next person. You're all doing that simultaneously, so you pick now one card out of these 5 that got handed to you. And you whittle it down, but you don't reveal the cards as you choose them. You are you're crafting a hand of 6 cards, and then in turn order from a first player, you're playing cards down one at a time so that you can react. You can zip when someone zaps. You can, so you're trying to get your disc to be the last one to move up on the track, because if you land on top of somebody else, you get that benefit. So now it's hand management after you've drafted your cards, and you only play 5 of the 6 cards that you draft. And so obviously you say, the cards are like 2 through 5. Okay, I just won't play the 2 that I got handed. But sometimes that level 2 card, to move up 2 spaces on a track is so crucial that you will really consider playing that over a 3 or a 4. So it's good. Once again, if you haven't tried this one, I really recommend it. Really do.
If you like tracks but not track and field, this is the game for you.
Yep.
Actually, there's jousting in it, so I'm sure that's kind of track and field.
Yeah, you all the track and field.
All the track, none of the shot put.
Yeah, there's no shot put in this one.
That's fair. There is a dragon.
So, for my game, which I think is the last game of the show.
Yeah, you're going to close this out, man. If you pick a bad
sometimes.
game, I will be very disappointed. Man. I will just cut off this video now.
I think I'm going to get kicked off the show. If I pick
Thanks, everyone, for coming by. My name is Chris from you.
So, I just want to give a quick honorable mention in this set of games to Stick'em, which is a little trick-taking game, but at the start of every round, you pick a pain suit, which is essentially a suit where if you take a trick in that color, you will take negative points for that. And so it's a fun little game of trying to basically stick people with their pain suit, and it's just a lot of like groaning and people like getting upset with each other, which is fun if you understand that that's the context of the game. But the game that I picked as my top game for this particular list is La Isla by the world famous Stefan Feld. So La Isla is a game where, depending on who you ask, you're either exploring an island and like noting the animals, or you're hunting them.
Your choice.
Yeah, someone here in Omaha's very convinced that one of the men on the box is getting ready to walk up and club the dodo that you see on the box. He's cannot be told otherwise that this man isn't about to just go club this dodo on the head and is the reason why the dodos don't exist anymore.
Yeah, there's honestly too many dodos around. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, they were a menace. So, La Isla, I think it's one of those just super fun feld games of you're building out these. You have these cards and you're putting out the A, B, and D. There's one of the slots that you don't put cards in, but you're doing these actions. You can get these different powers that'll allow you to do certain things throughout the game, and it's a fun little feldy game. It's not super complex. It's just kind of like a lighter, fun game that you can just kind of maybe with a friend who's not super into games, but it's like, hey, look at this game. It's about you're exploring some island. Let's sit around, have some laughs.
Let's club some
and play
dodos.
this game. Yeah, club some dodos. You know, as one is to do from time to time.
is there an
Very cool.
expansion where like the crew of the USS Enterprise like travels through time and collects a couple of dodos and brings them into the future?
That might have to get filed in the category of expansions that should exist, but I don't know if we'll see.
Okay, dang it. All right, that's
Sadly,
fine.
because I'm looking on the BGG page now under the expansion section. I don't see the USS Enterprise expansion.
Fine.
I don't see any expansions, actually. This game is non-expanded.
Oh, well, apparently we need Doctor Who too, because there's actually a Doctor Who audiobook I listened to about dodos. So, yeah.
The last
Doctor
dodo,
Who,
in fact.
Star Trek, La Isla crossover that everyone's been clamoring for.
You know it. Well, cool. That was really interesting. You know, there's so many good games out there, and we just don't always get a
so
chance
many.
to talk about some of those. There's so many other ones I wish I had picked. Like I was able to pick. Honestly, like if it weren't between World's Fair 1893 and Star Wars Risk Edition, like I would have picked the Risk Star Wars because I feel like it's that good of a fun little like shoot 'em up blasting kind of game. So if that one had been in a different category, you know, that one could have made this list, but happy to
See, and
mention it.
I was really interested in Charterstone. That was a game I really enjoyed the legacy part of that game, but as soon as the legacy part was over, like we didn't keep the game, we got rid of it because it wasn't worth playing. And it's been so long that I was like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed playing that game when I played it, but it just didn't quite beat Ethnos, you know? It doesn't have that like forever replayability. But it's a good game, and I probably would play that legacy campaign again.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at the next 100 games, and I see like 2 or 3 in here that if they were moved up, I would have picked them over La Isla.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to see with that, given those parameters, that again, huge shout out to the Brothers Murph for kind of pioneering this idea, because it's a super interesting and fun kind of twist a little bit on the top 10 or top 100 list that people like top lists, but it's so much fun just because of the parameters of this list. These games have nothing to do with each other, but like we said earlier in the show, they just happen to be similarly ranked for some reason by some algorithm that no one understands. And here they are rated this way on Board Game Geek, and so within these parameters, pick your favorite.
Yeah, it's very fun.
It's true.
As long as they all have something to do with Chicago, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And bumper boats. Yep. That's fair. Well, Jordan, thanks for coming on. I can't believe, so Chris and Jordan have been hanging out and chatting and podcasting and doing so much together, and I've never actually talked with Jordan before tonight. So I'm glad I finally like officially met you, because I feel like you're just a part of Chris's like best friend COVID group, and I've never seen you before. So I hear about you good and bad all the time.
Well, I'm sure it's mostly bad. If Chris is telling you the truth, but yeah, like I said, one of my honest favorite things that's come out of 2020 is the friendship that I've been able to build with Chris. And
Oh,
like, yeah, I don't even like, I don't know if it weren't for COVID, if like, even if we'd gotten hooked up, like, because I know you guys both kind of do the Meeple Overboard Boys segment. And I know the Board Boys because they're only 2 hours away from me, as opposed to, I don't know how many hours away Las Vegas is in a car.
20 something.
Something like
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
A long ways away. But I mean, maybe we would have like interacted with each other a little bit or whatever. But I think just because of the nature of everyone being at home and game nights on the computer being like your source for
Necessary.
yeah, and Chris and I both being like raging extroverts that are stuck in our homes. I don't know if like that we would have had the chance for this friendship to foster and grow like it has, and I'm very thankful for it. And
To blossom like a beautiful Chicago flower.
that's right. On a bumper boat.
On a bumper boat.
In the Panama.
Yep.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Jordan. Yeah, it's been so fun. You know, and it's one of those silver linings of a year that we're all happy is now going into the garbage can as we post this episode
That's
up.
right.
We can say sayonara 2021. So when I was a kid, this brings up an interesting story that we'll sign off with. When I was a kid, I watched Looney Tunes, as most American children's are wont to do. And I was playing with my stuffed animals one time, and you know, blah blah. They're like fake fighting and arguing and stuff. And then one of them said to the other, "Sayonara, sucker!" You know, and I was like 6 years old. So, you know, and so I guess that's not language that all parents deem appropriate for a 6-year-old. So my mom walked by and she looked at me and she said, "Chris, where did you learn a bad word?" And I said, "Sayonara."
Given your mom is from Korea, so
Yeah,
maybe there was some translation there. I don't know.
maybe Japanese is considered very cursed tongue in Korea.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there is some bad blood back in the history there. So anyway, we'll ignore we'll ignore wartime atrocities, and we'll just end with that funny anecdote of my childhood.
Hey, we're going to take a second to give a shout out to some of our patrons. So we want to thank James Ewing, Lance MU Jedi, and Sam Hillier for your support.
We also have one of our patrons right here in the square.
Ding,
top
ding, 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 ding.
Center square, Jordan Hopper.
We can't shout you out on this episode because you're on it.
It would be a little bit awkward, but yeah, if you ever want to put a face to the name, then you can go ahead and watch this video, and yeah, that's one of our patrons there. So
My face is mostly unobscured. There is a microphone here, but you can get the gist.
Just sit up a little taller. You're what, 7'9"?
Yeah.
There you go. Now we can see
Yeah.
your smile.
all right, Jordan, as we sign off, where can people find you, listen to your podcast, and find you on social media and all that jazz?
So they can find our podcast on, I think, pretty much any social media platform at the No Cube Zone. You'll know it because it looks kind of like, but legally distinct from the Twilight Zone logo with a big die in the logo. If you want to get at me personally and look at me and when I tweet about sports ball stuff, I'm on Twitter at jhopper8. Apparently jhoppers 1 through 7 beat me to the punch on that one.
Yeah,
Those guys, let me tell you, they can go
They're not
ride a
as
bumper
hopping as
boat
you are.
all the way to Chicago. That's for all I'm concerned. But yeah, I run the social media accounts for the No Cube Zone. So if you are tweeting or Instagramming or Facebooking or whatever at that's generally me. But if you want to get to the other guys, I can always pass messages along.
Sounds good. Well, Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks,
Or
guys.
Meeple Overboard.
I had so much fun.
Or
Sorry.
Meeple Overboard. Thanks for listening.